What's up, Hockey Talk Show fans? It is so good to see you after not being together for so long. Little family vacation has kept us apart, but that can't stop us from talking hockey tonight. And damn, it has a lot transpired in the time that we were last with each other. And we are going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff on the Hockey Talk Show today. Erik Karlsson takes takes the puck. And I think that is his swan song goodbye in Ottawa. We'll cover that, of course. The Sedins are definitely gone. They confirmed that for us. And John Tavares should be cheered. We'll cover all that and more on this episode of the Hockey Talk Show. This is working. I've not done this in too long. But it is good to be with you here on a Wednesday, 2 minutes in front of 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hockey Talk Show live for the first time since last week. We only had one show then. And that was certainly a fun one. But been missing you guys. Spent some time with the family down in Florida, which was great. Very rejuvenating. Very wonderful. And overall, just happy to be back here with you on the Hockey Talk Show live. As you can see, we are going to be talking about Erik Karlsson a lot. We're going to be talking about the Sedin twins a lot. I'm going to touch a little bit on John Tavares because I want to, again, I feel like the Islanders, the Dallas Stars, the Edmonton Oilers, like we're going to have a lot of time to talk about these teams that failed in a major way. Maybe the St. Louis Blues, I don't know. Maybe the Florida Panthers, maybe the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't know. That Metropolitan Division is heating up. I'll tell you what, credit the National Hockey League for all the criticism that's out there for them. And I feel like sometimes I'm the only one that's praising them. But I have to say, they've got a competitive landscape right down to the bitter end. Here we are, last 3 or 4 games of the season, right? And we're looking at, is St. Louis going to get in? Maybe. They control their destiny a little bit. Can the Panthers outlast the Flyers? Well, maybe. Flyers certainly didn't help themselves the other night against the New York Islanders. So we're got exciting races. Like maybe not for everybody. If you're a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights or you're a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, you guys have been in it from the beginning. But, if you're not, then, you've got some excitement here towards the end of the season, which I just think is great. It is a excitement in sports that we really don't see that much in many of the other leagues. Basketball, totally. I mean, there's not a more boring sport for me than basketball as far as who's going to win. Like, I know the Golden State Warriors are going back. Like, it's just, it's a stars league, which is exciting, in one aspect of things. But on the other hand, it's like very predictable. You can really predict the NBA from the get, whereas the National Hockey League is totally a different story, which I really appreciate. Chat on YouTube is flying already. I love it. I'm just getting my bearings here. And already we're going, everybody's chiming in. I love it. How are you guys? Sports Talk with the Broads. Good to see you, my man. Aaron rooting for Pittsburgh. Daniel, how was Florida? Florida was amazing. It was so great. I love doing this show, and I love doing radio in general. That's what I do for a living. I love this, but I have not put on a pair of headphones and spoken into a microphone in well over a week. It was so nice to step away from it for a little bit. With all great things in life, you got to miss it a little bit. There's sometimes where you got to miss it a little. And I miss it terribly. And it's so nice to be back. Florida started great, took the kids to Disney and, did the whole family thing, got the kids in the pool. It was miserable up here in the Northeast. We're from Long Island. So that's where we're doing the show from. We're averaging a nor'easter a week over here. I know a lot of you guys in the Northeast are going through the same thing. So it was great to get down there in Florida, but caught a stomach flu virus bug. I think it's death. I think it's stomach death. I think my stomach is dying inside me the last couple of days on the way back. So flying back with that was miserable. My 9-month-old daughter has it as well. So every time she sneezed, we had to change a diaper. This is not how I want to start the show, but Daniel asked, so blame him. And that was a whole thing. And so we're still kind of recovering off of that right now. And that kind of stinks. But other than that, it was great. And it's so great to be back here, which is amazing. Don't do this with me and the Flyers. Yeah, that Islander game last night was frustrating as hell for the Flyer fans, wasn't it? I watched that game. The Flyers are super good, and their goaltending, you can just see the bad luck with the goaltending, right? But Mrazek has done okay. He wasn't great in the game last night, but he's done okay. But to have that goaltending injury thing just fluctuating around, it's so heartbreaking for Flyer fans. But I'll say this. Honestly, who had the Flyers in the playoffs at the beginning of the year? Like, Flyer fans, I don't want to tell you when to be grateful and when not to be, but let's be honest, we're on borrowed time here with it's bonus. It's all gravy for Flyer fans. Like, nobody really thought that they were going to be here. I didn't really think they were going to be in contention. They got everybody really excited because of how high they got in the standings a few months ago. So I get it, it's disappointing. They're teetering right now, but I mean, let's be honest with each other. You were a lottery pick. I mean, Patrick, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's good times. It's good times for Flyer fans right now. Like, you're in a good area. Even if you don't make it, you're knocking on the door. You're on the trajectory up, which is great. So I know you can't talk an honest hockey fan down off the ledge and be like, it's great if you don't miss the playoffs. But a little perspective, it is what it is. Joe, what's up, man? Aaron is hoping the Philadelphia gets in. I think all Pittsburgh fans are hoping that the Flyers get in. Am I alone on that? Aaron, I'd love to know your thoughts. Because I feel like all Pittsburgh fans want the Flyers to get in. They want to see that Pennsylvania matchup. And I get it. I want to see it, too. It's exciting for me, too. I have the playoff picture. I want to get this up so I'm not just talking out of my opposite end here. But I don't know. Oh, this is great, the playoff picture. Yeah, so if the playoffs ended right now, it would be Flyers and Bruins. So we wouldn't get that Pennsylvania matchup till a latter round. But I think it's great. Like, for instance, to illustrate my point, I'm an Islander fan. Obviously, we're up here in the Northeast. I'm kind of hoping the Devils get in because I just want people around here to talk about hockey. And they really won't if nobody's in. We'll get a little bit if the Devils are in. But I just want somebody near me to have something to talk about as far as hockey goes. So I think that Pittsburgh fans are rooting for the Flyers to get in. And plus, everybody thinks that Pittsburgh can easily beat the Flyers, and I can't necessarily disagree with that. I'm sorry. I really feel like I deserve every bit of hate mail I'm going to get from Flyer fans. So go ahead and bring that on. Eddie, good to see you, man. I got your message. Just a vacation. We're happy to be back here today. So good to see you back in on the live chat here. Been waiting all season to see my favorite team make the playoffs. It's been a little boring for Vegas fans, I think, right? Like, there was this initial excitement. And it's like, oh, my God, look how good we're doing. And then, like, you hit the 100-point mark. And then the last couple of weeks, I feel like Vegas fans are kind of like, this is a little boring. Like, we're winning a lot. And we're going to be in. They weren't really necessarily, I don't think, ever really challenging for the President's Trophy. But they're not going to miss it by much. Just 4 points. I mean, I don't know. Louis, let me know. Was President's Trophy a concentration for Vegas fans? I don't really know. I think Vegas fans are just happy to be there. I know I'm ignoring Facebook. Give me a second. I'll get there. Blah, 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 blah. I don't get the Flyers. I am not sure if the goaltending or the young defensemen on the team are both. I don't get the Flyers. I am not sure if it's the goaltending or the young. I don't know what that means, Joe. I'm missing something there. Sorry, man. Dude, you got a new head? No, the classic old school headphones. Link in the description below. This is Master Dynamics. This is a small company out of New York City. who I love more than anything. Quickly, this is no endorsement. I don't get paid for this. But these are the finest headphones I have ever had. And I've had headphones. I've been in radio for 15 years. And of course, I had ears prior to that. I wear these every day. These are the best. They're a little heavy. I will say, if I have to give you the honest opinion, they're a little heavy on the ears. After like an hour or two, it gets a little annoying. They're not as good as some of the lighter headphones that are out there. But I know people like Bose and Master and Dynamics, or is it Master Dynamics? I'm not even really sure. I know I put the link in the description below because somebody on YouTube told me to do that a long time ago. Put links to descriptions so people can buy the stuff that you use. And this is the only thing that's in there because you guys know where to go for Macs and stuff. This is the only real thing that I have to discover. So, Uncle, how you do? Uncle Buck, how are you, man? Good to have you in here. I like that you guys are all catching up with each other. That's amazing. Joe, I'm a Flyers fan. No hate mail here, but remember the Penguins in the playoffs have lost versus the Flyers the last couple of matchups, so we have to see. I will say, Joe, I would pick the Penguins if I was betting my money, but I will give you this, my friend. Anything could happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's for damn sure. Absolutely anything could happen. I don't know if Philadelphia... I wonder what Philly would be more excited about, an NFL championship or the Flyers just ousting the Pittsburgh Penguins, just stopping the Pittsburgh Penguins from winning 3 Stanley Cups in a row. I think the NFL championship is a little higher, but I think it would be really close. I think it would be really, really close as far as satisfaction goes, because that would be incredibly, incredibly satisfying. We are going to talk about the Sedins. We are going to talk about Erik Karlsson. We are going to talk about John Tavares and the fact that he should be cheered because I feel like that is of super importance. And I know there's a lot of Islander fans that do watch the show, and I wanted to have something for you guys. So we are definitely going to get into that. Danny, welcome in on the Facebook. YouTube, we're on the Facebook YouTube group that we're a part of that Lou started. I want to thank you guys if any of you are joining. And of course, Red Light Hockey, nice enough to have us in their group as well. I was saying, as a Flyers fan, is it the young defense or the goaltending may be the problem, or is it both? A little bit of both. I like your young D, though. I mean, Shane Goss, I'm excited about him. You know what it is? Your defense will mature into something amazing. That defensive core will get there. The goaltending, I don't really know. The Flyers have just been snake bitten with the goaltending. I mean, for years, you guys have had good teams and just haven't been able to have that last and final piece in the net, which is so frustrating for Flyers fans. I know. Fleury shut out the Pens 4 games straight in the Stanley Cup Finals. Poetry. That would be something else. Wouldn't that be something else? Could you imagine if Vegas stops Pittsburgh from 3 in a row and it's Fleury who does it? That would be ridiculously amazing. That would be the story of stories. Thoughts on Pittsburgh's goaltending going into the playoffs? You know what? I've been pretty sheepish on Matt Murray. I don't think I've been quiet about that too. It's not really been a huge story for me. And he hasn't really found his footing all that great. But I'm not all that confident. But the problem is if there's a team that can get past mediocre goaltending, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, they can just do it. Nashville could do it. There's very few teams that can do it, but the Pittsburgh Penguins can get by. The Pittsburgh Penguins could put me in net, and I honestly think we could win a round or two. I'm not even joking. I think we could win a round or two. Can I succeed in the Eastern Conference Finals? The pressure might be too great at that point. But other than that, I think I can win a round or two with the Pittsburgh Penguins in front of me. I'm not going to lie to you. I am not going to lie to you. Murray has been shaky. and the injuries and his father. It's been tough, but the playoffs, there's something about it. It's like a baptism, you know. You get into those playoffs, and it's a new year. It is really a second season. It really, really is a second season. Aaron, we're going to dedicate a show to the coaches that are on hot seat. We actually did that already, but we're going to update it as the season ends. I actually think in an odd season here where we haven't had one coach fired, I think that on the final day of the season, we're going to see a lot of coaches go. And I think we're even going to see some general managers go. And I think some owners are actually going to fire themselves, to be honest with you. Now, I was down in Florida. Not when this happened. This happened, I think, well, maybe the morning that I left. So it was kind of news. I was in the Ocala area, so it's in between Tampa and Orlando. And you know how obsessed I am with jerseys and the warm-up jerseys and the fact that I think the National Hockey League should do more with that. I'm not necessarily saying that this was a jersey I'd like to see in a game. This might be one of those jerseys that's best in the warm-up, but cool nonetheless. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because I feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning did a really nice job celebrating is it the 25th anniversary of the Rays, or it's the 25th anniversary of the Bolts, and I think the 20th anniversary of the Tampa Bay Rays. And these are the jerseys that Tampa sported the other night in warm-ups to honor their crosstown brethren. And they got a little Thunderdome patch up here and the Lightning patch on the side. The Adidas patch looks great, and the Rays patch looks just killer on a hockey jersey. There's a back view of it too, and you can see the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah, there it is, the 20th anniversary patch right there. And there's a point where in the 21 baseball, total baseball font and numbers and everything. Just such a nice look. Just such a really, really sweet look that I really, really liked and wanted to recognize because, again, I think some of these jerseys, not this one, but I think some of these jerseys really deserve to be in the games a little bit more. Let's move into the Sedins and their retirement. I want to talk Vegas and the Sedins quickly here, but first, let's go over and focus in on the Sedins a little bit. Announcing their retirement the other day. I was pretty shocked to hear this. I want to know what you guys think. Were you surprised? I thought for sure this late in the season we would see the Sedins come back. I know they wanted to make a playoff run. I know they were very hopeful. I wasn't necessarily all this hopeful for Vancouver. I didn't think that they would be in it necessarily. I know that's hard for some people to hear, but that's just the way I feel about it. I didn't necessarily think that they'd have the depth to make it as a team, but you know, it is what it is. But I was surprised this late in the season that we got a retirement announcement from the Sedins. I thought for sure they were going to give it another go somewhere, if not for in Vancouver itself. And the fact that they announced their retirement was pretty sad. You talk about a franchise-defining duo. You know, when you think about Crosby, Malkin, and Taves, Kane, you know, the Sedins were really the first ones on the scene as far as this, you know, go with two strong players and build your team around that. Vancouver were the first ones to really step up and start that whole trend. And they started with the Twins, who are just classy as all hell. And, you know, my interest in hockey really, really hit a not in the game itself. My interest in all the stuff that goes on off the ice really hit a paramount a few years before the Sedins were drafted. And the story behind Burke and Brian Burke going out and pulling off the trade to get both of these players, to me, is just, there's nothing flashy to it, but it's a great story. The idea that you could have a top 3 pick and then go out and get another one so that you can keep these brothers together is truly unbelievable. And the fact that they stayed together their whole entire career is downright amazing. I mean, really, really amazing. Imagine getting to do what you love every single day with the person you are closest to, whether that's a brother or sister or a friend or whatever. I mean, it's amazing. And Brian Burke was the man really responsible for that. And no matter how many stops he's had in Toronto and Calgary now, I think it's great that he was able to do that and forever leave his stamp on the Vancouver franchise. Like, today we can say Brian Burke's fingerprints are off the Vancouver Canucks, because every day that these two guys were there, he was a part of building this team. As close as they came to winning a championship, they didn't. And that will forever be their legacy that differs them from Crosby, Malkin, and Taves Kane. But there were never two guys more deserving to win a championship. Like that will be the thing, and that will be the thing that haunts Ovechkin as well. Like, if you can't go out there and capture that championship, it just, like Marino, it never kind of leaves you. Which leads me to my question, and I'd love to stop the chats in both Facebook and YouTube for a second and have you guys answer this question for me. What do you respect more? The Sedin retirement before before you win a championship, the Sedins going out with one team and retiring and not winning a championship, or the Ray Bourque, Jerome Iginla route of, let me leave my team and go out and seek a championship elsewhere. Now, for Bourque, he was lucky it was only one stop. For Iginla, a couple more stops for him. But what do you respect more? The guys that leave before they ever win a championship, or the guys that stay in it and then leave their franchise to go out and be the final piece in the puzzle for whatever team they do eventually wind up winning for? Because I always thought that it was wonderful that Ray Bourque won that championship, and I was rooting for him at the time. Big Ray Bourque fan. No disrespect to Ray. But I always felt like Ray doesn't really mean much to the people of Colorado. Like the people of Denver, I bet you half their young fans, I bet you if you go up to a 12-year-old fan at a Colorado Avalanche game, he'll have no idea who Ray Bourque is and won't be able to pick him out of a lineup. But if you went to a 12-year-old at a Boston Bruins game, they would be absolutely able to pick Ray Bourque out of a lineup. So that's what I'd like to know. What do you respect more? The straight-up retirement, no championships, or trade me to wherever, Doug Waite, Ray Bourque, I just want to go out there and win my championship? That's what I'd like to know in the comments below. Let me see here. Joe, yes, I was surprised about the retirement announcement, but a class act, both of them, and to play the whole career for one-time players, for one team, players don't do that anymore. It's true. They really, really don't. This might be the last, time. Like, we were just talking about the Chicago Blackhawks and maybe breaking that whole thing down. Like, I couldn't put money on the fact that Jonathan Toews is going to retire a Blackhawk. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put money on it. But these guys, class acts. Class acts. Aaron, trade me to wherever. I get it. I mean, there's no wrong answer here. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. Because one, there's a love of loyalty, and two, on the other side of it, there's that love of competitiveness, and win at all costs. Will on Facebook, I'm old school. I'd say stick with your team, loyalty. There you go. One on each side of it. I don't even know. I haven't even formed the opinion. I was just so happy to come up with a question. Speaking of class acts, that is the Vegas Golden Knights. And you don't get to say class act in Vegas too often. Sorry, Lou. But here they are in one of the last games for the Sedins. Vegas, the visiting team. And you don't see this that often outside of the playoffs. We've started to see it creep into the outdoor games, which I love. But I love that it's saved for the playoffs. I love that the handshake is end of the round for the playoffs thing only. I like that it has crept into the outdoor games because that's a special thing. but I feel like the end of the game shake is a sacred thing. And for Vegas to break that out during one of the Sedins final games, I thought was pure and utter class. I'm not sure who came up with that for the Vegas Golden Knights, but seeing that, I just thought, wow. To me, that was just impressive. I was impressed with that Vegas, especially, and it's not that they're a new team. There's no captain. I mean, they're all older players. They're all players of experience, but the whole thing just class, all the way, you know. Just to go, let's line up and pay the Sedins the respect. I mean, they don't know the Sedins squat, but to do that, I thought was a really, really nice move. Joe, I can't answer that question, and this is why the Sedins are doing it to be closer for family. Ray wanted to win a cup, and what if Ray didn't get a cup in 2001? I think it was 2001. Eddie confirms 2001. Yeah, and the thing is, I honestly feel the Sedins would have had offers from a few teams if they wanted to go elsewhere. You know, if they wanted to go elsewhere and try and win a cup, they probably could have had a couple of suitors, you know, call on their agent. Speaking of going elsewhere, I did also find it funny that the way we have our collective conscience, our collective attention span in hockey these days, went from the Sedins are retiring, oh, what a class act, what wonderful guys, to like 5 seconds later seeing tweets of like, do you think that Vancouver can get Tavares? Like, I mean, literally. And I get it. I get it. You know, I understand. He's going to be the hottest commodity in the free agent market. So I get it. But I thought to myself, boy, wouldn't it be nice to mourn the loss or respect the careers of the Sedin twins, where like in 5 seconds later, you know, Vancouver fans are just tweeting like, you think this frees up a lot of space for Tavares? Like, can we get him? Like, you know, so that was, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing because, again, hardcore fandom, and I understand it. I'm not criticizing it, but I do need to bring it to the forefront and acknowledge it and comment on it. That's where we are as far as the attention span goes. Like, thanks, guys, so much for the career. But don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out as we try and iron out a 91 jersey for John Tavares. Uncle Buck, I almost threw up when I heard all the chatter about Canucks cap space, being a Nucks fan. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Because I'm not a Canucks fan, but I respect the two of them greatly, and I've always enjoyed watching them. You know, watching the Sedin, like, you talk about the boring things that just make a great hockey player. Like, if you were going to teach a kid how to play hockey, the Sedin twins are one of the two guys that you would show them, because you can't really do that with the other great duos that we just named, Crosby, Malkin, so on and so forth. The Sedin twins literally played together all the time. I think it was Chris Johnson of Sportsnet who said that the Sedins played 96% of their career together, meaning 96% of the time they were on the ice together. But when you watch them play, they would just cycle and cycle and cycle and find each other. And they sought open ice against the boards better than any other player, and then would just boom, creep to the net or find that third forward at the net. And that was their move. And again, may not be the most exciting brand of hockey, but if you're teaching kids, I mean, if I'm putting together clips of games for kids to watch so that they can have some insight on how to be a great hockey player, I would definitely include a few clips of the Sedins, because nobody handled the puck better than them and kept it away from other players better than them, two players together. Where do we want to go? I want to mention a couple of quick things here, and then I want to get to John Tavares and Erik Karlsson quickly. Eddie, the Sedins were great with Alex Burrows. Yeah, that was the interesting thing. Like, that was funny. They never had a third stick. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember how long Burrows was with them for, but I was thinking about this the other day. I can't really remember a third line mate for them throughout the, like, that being like that guy. Like, Burrows, I thought of. There was one other guy that was with them for a while, which escapes me right now. But it didn't really matter, I don't think. It was kind of like Crosby's line mate, like Kunitz, like, you know, it doesn't really matter. Just put somebody over there, they're going to be fine. But Burrows was good, opened up a little bit of ice for them. Did the Sedins have Naslund early on? Probably, right? Wow, Marcus Naslund. A while since I heard that name. Let's talk about Roberto Luongo quickly here. He is headed for his 1,000th game, which, again, you talk about respectful guys. That's pretty amazing. Panthers and Bruins tomorrow night. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit more. He'll become the third goaltender behind Brodeur and Patrick Roy to reach the 1,000 game milestone. Certainly not an easy thing to do in that position. And again, as we look at the playoff race, the Florida Panthers need each and every single win. And so they'll go to Roberto on his 1,000th puck drop to see if they can grab a win against one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League right now, the Boston Bruins. And they're at home, which is great, I think, for the Panthers. That's going to be a good game to watch for tomorrow night. Luongo selected 4th overall by the New York Islanders. I mean, I can't even believe this. 1997. Jesus, 21 years ago. 1,000 games for Luongo. Good for him. Good for him. Let's go over to the Erik Karlsson thing. Let's talk about this. I'm sure by now you guys have all seen Karlsson going into the net and picking up the puck in his last game with the Senators for this season. Of course, we didn't know that at the time that he did this. And I first got wind of this. My wife saw it on Instagram. And when my wife is bringing me stuff, I know it's a big hot topic. She's got a nose for this stuff. She goes, "You see Karlsson?" I go, "No, what?" She goes, "He went into the net and picked up the puck after the game the other night." I go, "He did?" I'm like, "Did he score? Was it a milestone goal or something?" Nope. Just went in there and picked up the puck. And downplayed it in the media afterwards, saying, like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. I just saw it and I thought I'd grab it." Dude, come on. I think this is a sure sign that Karlsson is definitely out of here. I've been saying this for the longest time. This is a off-season move. This is a possibly at the draft, maybe after trade. I think it kind of happens before the draft or at the draft because there's going to be a first-round draft pick that's going to be because if you exercise your pick and then you try and trade for him afterwards, that's an asset you've let go. Nobody's going to want your pick, the player you actually take. They want your selection so that they can make their own pick. But I think he knows he's getting traded. I think there's Aaron. Aaron just said he knows he's getting. I think, Aaron, I'm with you, brother. He knows he's getting traded. I think he's even going to urge the trade. I think he's going to sit down with the Senators, if he hasn't already, and say to them, "Look, I got to get out of here." And that's it. Now, what followed this was the announcement from him that he was not going to join the team on their final 3 games of the season on the road trip. Now, it's a sticky situation because, and again, I've talked about this. I had someone very close to me just lose a baby, just before she was due. And it was devastating for me and my friends and family, devastating for her. Diana Hope is the baby's name. I always like to say her name. And it's a very tough thing. And I think he should be with his family. But I also do think that, hockey players are hockey players. I'm not saying that he would have stayed home or whatever. I'm not saying he's using his wife as an excuse. I just think that the reality of the situation is he'd rather be with his wife and he's done with the Ottawa Senators. I think that's a big part of it. If he wasn't having all this trouble, would he have stayed anyway? Yeah, he probably would have. He might have. So I don't think it's indicative either way, but I do think that he's done with them. And this is a clear sign. Him saying, "I got to be with my wife." And, that like he's the captain of the team. He does have a responsibility. There is some dumb pride in finishing these games. I mean, I keep saying this about John Tavares. I don't know why this guy's in these games. It doesn't mean anything. He gets popped in the eye with a puck. It's a whole crazy world you're living in now. You got your future to worry about and your family to worry about. But I think that he's so done. I think he's definitely done. Where he winds up, I don't know. I think that Vegas will still be a front runner since they were close to having a deal. If Bobby Ryan is still a part of it, I think Vegas is definitely a front runner in this. But I think all the talk, like we talked about prior to this, of Pierre Dorian saying that come July 1st, he's going to have an extension, table to him. I think that's all BS. I don't think he even makes it there. I think by June 15th, 18th, whenever the draft is, I think Karlsson gets moved during that time. I think Karlsson's time with the Senators is very over. And speaking of his, tragedy as well, too, I mean, you think about it from Erik Karlsson's standpoint, he's had a really bad professional year. Personally, it's a horrific tragedy what he's had to go through. It might be the nobody's fault scenario to get out. There might be the thing for Karlsson to say, look, my wife and I need a fresh start. It was a rough year professionally. We went through this horrible thing. We need a fresh start. It might be the thing. Look, it might be it's not you, it's me sort of a thing where he just goes to Ottawa at the end of the year and goes, look, I mean, I've had a bad thing happen to me in my personal life. We haven't been getting along. We haven't been vibing. Maybe, try get for me what you will, but I need out of here. I need a fresh start, fresh team. I need a fresh start professionally and personally. Need to start over. Please deal me in the off season. And I think that, and honestly, I think that Pierre Dorian is willing to do it. I think Pierre Dorian wants to put his stamp on this team. I think he wants to build this team around Matt Duchene. But I also think it's tough to trade your captain and your beloved player, that's been there forever. It's hard to be the general manager to do that. So that's my thoughts on Erik Karlsson. I think he goes. To wrap it up, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get to the goalie interference calls and all that stuff, but I do have to run. But I just want to leave this here for the Islander fans that are watching. It's going to be Islanders-Rangers tomorrow night. I might touch on this again tomorrow night in tomorrow's show, but I wanted to make sure to get it out there so that the people who listen to the podcast the next day will have it. I think that whatever's going to happen between Tavares and the Islanders, I don't even know if it's set in stone yet. I don't know what John's thinking. I don't know if anybody outside of John, his family, and his agent know what he's thinking. I don't know what the organization is thinking, whether they're thinking about moving on from Garth Snow and Doug Waite. Maybe we'll do that show tomorrow. I've been saving my thoughts on this for a long time. I'm not really sure, but I do know this. If you're sitting there as an Islander fan and you're feeling that helpless feeling of like, what do I do? I think the best thing, and I think that this would be tremendous, and I'm surprised I haven't seen this anywhere, and I'm going to tweet this later and I'll put it on Facebook and hopefully it'll get shared. Maybe you guys will share it, help spread the word, but Islander fans, I think it'll be great. I think that every time John Tavares touches the puck tomorrow night, Thursday night against New York Rangers, that the crowd, the fans should stand up and applaud and not stop applauding until he gets off the ice. That's my personal feeling. Like, if you want a Hail Mary pass, not that I think that would really make a difference, but I do sort of think it would put an impression on him that if you feel helpless and that you want to do something, I think the move for Islander fans is to applaud John Tavares nonstop every time he touches the puck. I'm talking about, we just scored a goal, let's stand up and cheer type of crazed applause for no reason every time he touches the puck. I'm not saying it keeps him an Islander. Let's be honest. There's real world implications here. But I think he deserves it, and I think it's the last and final Hail Mary play that the fans have for John. That's just my feeling. And I think it would be great if something like that would happen tomorrow night. Think about how gracious the Vancouver Canuck fans are going to be for the Sedins Twins tomorrow night when they play their last game in Vancouver. I think the same sort of appreciation should be shown for John. If this is his last home game in an Islander uniform, it'll be a thank you. And if it's not, it'll be a we don't want you to go. But either way, that man should be showered with applause and love every time he touches the puck. And I think that for Islander fans, it's a necessity because that would then become the story. Because right now the story is Garth Snow should be fired. Doug Waite should be fired. What's wrong with this team? They're broken as always. Lost blah, blah, blah. Another blown year. That's the story right now. The story coming out of Thursday's game should be watch this. And it won't be just a hockey story because that's the kind of thing that can cross over. You know, that's the kind of thing that would make it into regular newscasts or on regular websites. It should be, watch this. Every time John Tavares touches the puck, 60 some odd times, the crowd erupted in applause. That's what should be done for 91 in his final game. We'll touch on that. We'll pick it up from there tomorrow night on the show. Amazing to be back with you guys. YouTube is getting so strong. You guys are the best. Facebook, Red Light Hockey, the NHL YouTube group over there. Amazing. And if you're following on Facebook on the Hockey Talk Show page, thank you guys. As always, always a pleasure to be here serving you. Podcasters, remember to rate and review. There is definitely not enough reviews there for the amount of people that are listening to the podcast. So please get on that if you can. Does Tavares get a 3-year deal to see how the new area feels? The new arena? No, Tavares is signing a 7-year deal with somebody, if not an 8-year deal with the Islanders. There's no bridge. There's nothing. He's 7 elsewhere, 8 here, max money. I honestly think with the cap going up, he could probably command 10 to 12 million. He can probably get 12 million if he really wants. I don't think he will because I do think that $2 million, he can get 10 and be happy. That $2 million can go to another player. But I think that he's going to go for it. He could perhaps get some bigger money than people may think he can get. 10 Daniel says 10 easy. I agree. 10 easy. 10, 5, 11. I'm sure there's going to be some teams out there going, we'll give you 12-5, 13. There's going to be and that's the whole thing. And that's why he's going through this exercise. That's why Steven Stamkos went through the exercise. He wants to see what teams are willing to pay him. Eddie on the predictions. Minnesota over Anaheim, 4-2. St. Louis over Chicago, 6-4. He has Buffalo beating the Ottawa Senators 27-1. I'll leave Eddie's predictions there. I won't even do my own. They're good enough. See you guys on the next